For decades, global power followed a familiar script orchestrated by the West and its alliances. The world stage was set, and the actors rarely changed, with Western nations shaping the rules and setting the tone for international relations, trade, and security. But on September 28, 2025, Hungary and Greece, core EU members, announced their intention to join BRICS, shattering old certainties. This unexpected move sent shockwaves through diplomatic circles, as two nations at the heart of Europe signaled a dramatic shift in allegiance. This isn't just a policy shift. It's a fundamental break in the European tapestry, unraveling threads woven over generations. The unity that once seemed unbreakable now appears fragile, as historical bonds are tested in real time. For the first time, EU nations are pivoting toward a rival bloc, challenging the very idea of European unity. The continent faces questions it hasn't confronted in decades. What does it mean to be European, and who gets to decide the future of Europe? The implications ripple across trade, security, and the future of Western democracy. Financial markets react with uncertainty, military alliances are thrown into doubt, and citizens across the continent wonder what comes next. Is this a one-off act of defiance, or the first crack in a dam about to burst? Could other nations follow? Or will the EU find a way to heal these divisions before they widen further? The world watches as the aftershocks threaten to reshape alliances and identities. Every headline, every statement from leaders is scrutinized for signs of what the future might hold. For Hungary and Greece, hope and anxiety mix. For the EU, it's a moment of crisis. Ordinary citizens grapple with uncertainty, while leaders scramble to respond to a rapidly changing landscape. For BRICS, it's a historic victory, gaining a foothold in Europe and new global legitimacy. The bloc's influence grows, and its ambitions are emboldened by this unprecedented expansion. Today may be remembered as the day the old world order took its first decisive blow. The balance of power is shifting, and the world stands at the threshold of a new era, one whose outcome remains uncertain. The EU's strength has always been its unity, a single voice amplifying the interests of 27 nations. Through crises and disagreements, solidarity held, making the EU a global regulatory powerhouse. Now, Hungary and Greece's move to BRICS is a public rejection of that tradition. This isn't just policy divergence, it's a split in worldview, signaling a future outside the Euro-Atlantic framework. The precedent is dangerous. Other disillusioned members may follow, fracturing the bloc's authority. For the US, a divided Europe complicates transatlantic strategy and weakens the West's hand. The world sees the crack in Europe's monolith and wonders how deep it will run. The EU's ability to project power is now in question. The era of unquestioned European unity is over. The EU and BRICS emerged from very different worlds. While the EU was born out of the ashes of World War II, seeking unity and peace through integration, BRICS arose in the 21st century, fueled by the ambition of emerging economies to reshape the global order and assert their own influence. The EU pools sovereignty among its members, aiming for lasting peace, democracy, and a seamless single market that allows goods, people, and ideas to flow freely across borders. In contrast, BRICS is a looser coalition, united by a shared desire to challenge Western dominance and create new opportunities for their own nations. Their relationship has always been a complex mix of cooperation and rivalry, with deep ideological divides and mutual suspicions simmering just beneath the surface. The EU often criticizes BRICS countries on issues like human rights, the rule of law, and democratic values, seeing itself as a guardian of these principles. Meanwhile, BRICS accuses the West, and the EU in particular, of hypocrisy, double standards, and acting out of self-interest rather than genuine concern. As BRICS expands its influence, the rivalry only intensifies. The bloc has launched its own development bank, is actively discussing the creation of a rival currency, and is working to build alternative financial systems. BRICS is seeking a multipolar world, where power is more evenly distributed and no single bloc can dominate the global stage. The EU's unease has grown as BRICS's ambitions and global reach continue to rise, threatening the established order. Now, with Hungary and Greece deciding to join BRICS, the competition between these blocs is no longer just an external challenge. It has become an internal crisis for Europe, shaking the very foundations of EU unity. The rules-based order that the EU painstakingly built over decades is now under direct and unprecedented challenge from within its own continent. The balance of global power is shifting before our eyes as alliances realign and new centers of influence emerge. The contest between these two powerful blocs is no longer just a distant geopolitical struggle. It has become a battle for the future of Europe itself, with consequences that will echo around the world. Hungary and Greece's pivot didn't happen overnight. It's the result of years of friction with Brussels and a search for new partners. Orban's Hungary has long clashed with the EU, seeking support from Russia and China. Greece, scarred by the debt crisis and EU-imposed austerity, grew resentful of Brussels' dominance. Both nations see BRICS as an economic lifeline, offering investment, markets, and fewer strings attached. China's Belt and Road has already transformed Greek infrastructure. BRICS' new development bank promises more. The pandemic and energy crises only deepened economic woes, making BRICS' growth even more attractive. For Budapest and Athens, national interest now outweighs bloc solidarity. They're betting they can balance EU fallout with BRICS benefits. It's a high-stakes gamble that rewrites the rules of European diplomacy. The announcement sent shockwaves through Europe and beyond. Orban called it a reclaiming of sovereignty. Mitsotakis framed it as pragmatic economic diversification. Both insisted they weren't abandoning Europe, just broadening horizons. Brussels responded with stern warnings, questioning their commitment and promising consequences. The EU's unity, said President von der Leyen, is its strength. Unilateral moves threaten the entire project. Moscow and Beijing celebrated, hailing the decision as proof of a shifting world order. The US expressed deep concern, urging Europe to maintain a common front. The global reaction made clear, this is more than a regional dispute. It's a turning point in international relations. The stakes are high, and the world is watching. Hungary and Greece have forced a reckoning for the EU. The next moves will define Europe's future. The old alliances are under unprecedented strain. The map tells the story. Hungary, at Europe's crossroads, now opens a corridor for Russian and Chinese influence deep into the continent. This complicates EU and NATO security, energy, and logistics. Greece's port of Piraeus, already under Chinese control, could become a BRICS gateway to the Mediterranean, challenging NATO's naval dominance. Economically, BRICS nations are outpacing EU growth. Hungary and Greece want in on that momentum. Chinese investment in both countries is rising, while EU investment stagnates. Legally, the situation is uncharted. EU treaties don't anticipate members joining rival blocs. Brussels could pursue legal action or suspend voting rights, but Hungary and Greece could retaliate with vetoes, risking gridlock. The visuals are stark. Europe's map, economy, and legal order are all in flux. The path ahead is fraught with uncertainty and confrontation. The EU's principle of unanimous foreign policy is broken. Hungary and Greece can now block key decisions, paralyzing the bloc. This could force painful reforms or leave the EU mired in gridlock and diminished influence. Economically, their BRICS integration disrupts the single market, raising questions about trade, investment, and the euro's stability. Socially, the move emboldens populists across Europe, deepening divides and fueling polarization. Pro-EU citizens in Hungary and Greece may feel betrayed, sparking unrest. The EU's appeal to aspiring members in the Balkans is weakened. If membership isn't exclusive, what's its value? European soft power has taken a hit. The dream of a united free Europe is slipping further away. The shockwaves will be felt for years to come. Dr. Alistair Croft of the LSE sees this not as a single event, but as the acceleration of a long-building trend that has been quietly reshaping the global order for years. According to Dr. Croft, what we're witnessing is not a sudden shift, but the culmination of forces that have been gathering momentum beneath the surface. The unipolar moment is over. Nations are now shopping for the best deals between competing blocs, weighing their options more carefully than ever before. The world is no longer dominated by a single superpower, but is instead becoming a marketplace of alliances and interests. Hungary and Greece, for example, want both the stability and security offered by the EU and the economic opportunities promised by BRICS growth. A risky balancing act that requires careful diplomacy and constant negotiation. Dr. Croft warns that punishing these countries could easily backfire. pushing them further from Brussels and deepening divisions within the Union. Instead of fostering unity, harsh measures might only encourage more defiance and fragmentation. The EU now faces a critical crossroads. Should it double down on integration with a core group of committed members, or allow more flexible, a la carte partnerships that accommodate diverse interests and ambitions? Both paths carry significant risks, either the threat of fragmentation and weakened influence, or the potential loss of political unity and shared purpose. The future will likely be defined by overlapping, sometimes even contradictory alliances, as countries seek to maximize their own advantages in a rapidly changing world. The challenge for the West is to adapt, making its model not only more attractive, but also more effective and responsive to the needs of a diverse global community. Dialogue and cooperation, rather than confrontation, are key to navigating this new era of uncertainty and complexity. The competition is increasingly for hearts and minds, not just territory or resources. Winning public support and trust is now as important as any strategic gain. The world's alliances are now a complex, shifting mosaic, constantly evolving and demanding new strategies for engagement and cooperation. The post-war global order's melody has changed. Hungary and Greece's BRICS move is a fundamental note of transformation. The era of automatic Western allegiance is over. Multipolarity has arrived. We've traced the roots, the grievances, and the strategic calculations behind this rupture. The consequences are profound. Europe's unity, economy, and identity are all in flux. The world faces new risks and opportunities in a more fragmented system. The strategic balance has shifted, and the future is uncertain. This is just the beginning, a test of resilience for the EU and cohesion for BRICS. Clear-eyed analysis, not panic, is needed now. Every nation and citizen has a stake in how this new world takes shape. The music has changed, and we must all learn the steps to a far more complex dance.